Welcome to Bets on the Future, where we highlight the various career paths in the electrifying metals world. From the vehicle you ride in to the bridge holding it up, metals are everywhere. Why not in your career too? I'm Jennifer Betts, a metals industry veteran with almost 20 years experience, here to highlight these incredible career paths as told by the women who are living them. Welcome back to an episode of Bets on the Future. We have a special guest from across the pond today. We have Alexandra Graf. She is head of application and training at SensoTech. She had been working as an application engineer at SensoTech since 2016. Her area of responsibility includes the planning and support of measurement technology applications for customers. This includes, for example, feasibility testing, which is carried out in the in-house laboratory. Her professional career took her to China as a lecturer in process engineering at Chengde Petroleum College. Here she combined her analytical skills with presentation techniques and worked intensively with petrochemical processes. At SensoTech, Alexandra Graf developed into a specialist in the application of analytical measurement technology in industry and research. In 2020, she took over the management of the laboratory and the application engineers with a focus on training and webinars. She is passionate about supporting users and sales partners in different countries to find the best possible solution for their measurement task. And I want to give a huge thank you for staying up late, by the way, for recording this episode with us, because it's been truly incredible to see what you've been working on, because we got connected via the internet. So thank you to LinkedIn for that. And Alexandra, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story on Bets on the Future today.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer, also for the opportunity to speak with you. And I think it's a good industry talk to have women in steel. That's also why we met at IST Tech. So last year was in Columbus, this year in Nashville. So for me from Germany, this is always a good opportunity to find more other ladies who are working in the industry, having an engineering or technology background or sales or market research, because there are a lot of industry trends who are shared. And this is something I found out because our analyzer, what you have explained, is in multiple industries. So you can use this also for chemical production, for mining, for pharmaceuticals. But interestingly, my main focus and my heart project is for women in steel, because industry is really cool and you have impressive dimensions and the persons are very open-minded to share experience. I mean, mostly from technology experience, also what is happening in your plant, maybe we can share our experience. So this is something I highly appreciate, which is outstanding for steel industry and not standard, especially if you're a supplier technology or a company like us who is having a small puzzle stone like our analyzer. Even our communication with steel mills and all the experts is very interesting and open-minded. And
For the
you.
people who may be unfamiliar with the term AIST, it's the Association of Iron and Steel Technology. And you're spot on. It's not common for that knowledge sharing, and AIST does a really wonderful job of bringing individuals with that knowledge amongst different companies together at various events throughout the year to share what they know, which obviously is very key in steelmaking because a lot of it revolves around safety, for one, but also steel obviously goes into a lot of different industries, parts, everyday life, drinking out of a stainless steel cup, for instance. And it's pretty cool to see what that particular organization has brought together, this particular conversation, for one. And it's got to be incredible for you to see what's come out of some of the conversations that individuals that you've met over the years through that organization.
Yes, absolutely. And also for young professional and students, it's a very good association and they have a very good technical program for them. And funnily, also the world is very good connected. For example, last November, I was at a sulfuric acid roundtable event, which is mainly for acid manufacturer. It has completely nothing to do with steel industry. But even there, I met some ladies who were in Columbus at this AIST Women in Steel Roundtable, because even they are in a technology service company who is dealing with steel, mining, acid manufacturers. And funnily, what was really interesting for me was that they also mentioned, yeah, we met so nice persons at this event, and they are, yeah, you can say in the end, cosmopolitans who are traveling the world and having different industries. And of course, we as a manufacturer of an analyzer, or for example, they are doing some industry services. Of course, they recognized which industry is sharing knowledge and industry trends and who are more protective, protect their knowledge. But interestingly, in the steel industry, I met so many very kind person who say, "Oh, because for me, this is very valuable also, because you need some partners who are sharing ideas that even for us, as we are a niche producer, yeah, we have a small analyzer which is used in hundreds of applications, but interestingly, it's tailor-made for one technology, so mainly for pickling bars analysts, for example, but to know what are the needs of the operator, for example, for safety purposes, so that they need a special indicator who is telling them that the acid is too high or too low, and there are some limitations, and then they know an alarm point where they can refill fresh acid, for example. This sounds very easy, but for them it means a lot, and also for me to share these ideas.
I'd have to imagine this was not probably on your radar, maybe growing up, in terms of what you thought you
Mhm.
might be doing as a career. I'm just kind of curious, how did your journey into the metals industry happen? I mean, like, how did this spark, if you will, come about?
Yeah, interesting question, because I think it's very unconventional way to the steel industry, my one, because I have studied biotechnology. So my master thesis was about a bioreactor and how to produce proteins by yeast production, something very, yeah, it was mainly for vaccine production, so something very niche. And that was a classy medical topic. And it was all about the biotechnology and behind and all this biochemistry. Luckily, I had very good teachers in school for science, mainly for biology and chemistry, and they empowered me to study in the engineering, same like my mother did, but she was a veterinarian engineer. And then I started at SensoTech as an engineer, and interestingly here we have such a wide scope of applications in my laboratory with my team. We have now measured 1,500 different chemicals, from fruit juice, beer. So, for example, Heineken beer is also measured with the analyzer, and also other beer brands, but also acids like hydrochloric acid, hydrofluoric acid, or very toxic and harmful applications. And interestingly, there is such a wide scope of industry like pharmaceuticals, steel, mining, even paper mills or airports are working with such an analyzer to measure the glycol of an anti-freezing agent. So it's a very wide variety. And when I started at SensoTech, I had a very good engineer on my side. His name is Stefan Nitschke, and together with him, we had a lot of installation qualifications. So we are directly hands-on at the customer plant and installing the device and wiring it, and especially trainings for the operator, how to use it and how to load the software. And that's was my first touch with steel industry when I had in 2018 installation qualification at ThyssenKrupp plant in Dortmund. Interestingly, their steel industry is not really dirty because I'm visiting pickling lines and they have a very high approach of quality management and cleanliness. And it's very impressive to have such big dimensions of a pickling bath. Everything is closed, having some pipes. And of course, inside of the bath, with steel and pickling, you have some sludge, but outside in the plant, everything is very clean, which was not common for steel industry, but it was my first installation qualification. And they have 8 pickling lines of spray pickling, so it's very big. For us, it was a big project because normally, yeah, we are a tailor-made company. So normally based by one piece, we are starting our projects and they ordered 8 by 1. So it's a big project for all their lines having now inline analyzer because based on their health safety engineers, they said we mandatory need an analyzer also for environmental purpose to know the acid concentration, because then we can also say in the end you can save money and resources and also protect the operator, because as dealing with acid is harmful, especially when you have some unwanted shutdowns and such things. And then you need to know how many acid is in the tanks, or also if the coil is performing not well in the waste. In the worst case, you have one coil for scrap. Yeah, and normally you don't want to waste this product because it's end of the line. Yeah, so there were already all the upcoming ones like mining or steel making, cold rolling mill or hot rolling, and pickling is last in the line. And of course, there you don't want to waste it to the scrap. So for them, it's a very essential process where you need an analyzer. So this was my first touch with ThyssenKrupp, which was really nice. And then some other projects for galvanizing, for example, and also pickling industry in Korea, for example, we have very good clients.
The pickling line was probably a pretty good intro to the steel industry. It's, like you said, definitely the cleaner section of steel. I mean, the recycled materials yard is what we'll call it. So the raw materials input is probably a little less clean per se, the beginning of the process. For those that are unfamiliar with pickling lines, we're very creative in the metals industry. Pickling is exactly named after pickles for the same reason. We are, yes, yep, you said it, using acids to make change. And similar to a cucumber, making it into a pickle, we don't want to waste the cucumber, like we don't want to waste the coil. That cucumber has grown from the seed, from the ground, all the way through the process. There's been many steps to get that coil all the way to the pickling line. So your analyzer is very important to make sure that there is not any waste along that line. And the galvanizing line is one of the prettier processes in the steel line, I would say, in my personal opinion, just because it's really impressive to see the coils going up and down and getting dipped into the molten bath of zinc and coming up beautifully shiny uh, through, through the process. So again, very important to know what's happening in that molten process, right, as it's going through. So it's pretty incredible to see the pieces of technology that you and your company are working on. That wasn't around, what, 20 years ago? 10 years ago? I mean, this seems like relatively new for the steel industry, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a lot of clients who are completely, yeah, I would say most of them are not aware that there is an analyzer technology who can be installed directly in the bath or directly in the circulation loop. So normally you have some valves and taking some samples, then you have like half a liter or some bottle of sample, sending it to the laboratory technicians. And after some hours, they will tell you the acid concentration, or even in this galvanizing zinc bars, they will tell you the ingredients. But it's only one sample, and having such an analyzer for them is very helpful because in the end you have a 24/7 reading. Yeah, so this is very helpful. Also, especially nowadays, we discuss about net zero carbon emissions, and we want to reduce energy costs. And I'm sure even in 100 years, everybody needs steel, everybody needs all these materials because we have our smartphones, our computers, our daily products. But at least we can reduce the resources like energy or metal and all the incoming goods, that we don't waste them and have unnecessary process steps to repeat, because this means additional energy effort, and at least this can be reduced by having good analyzer technology. Not only from my company, also from all the other companies, because in the end, this is the topic of digitalization. So you connect this with your process control room, and there are very smart operators who can reduce the energy costs, and which also makes the guys in the controlling happy because it reduce your money. Yes, so this is for all of us beneficial.
I love the way that you're looking at that because I'm still thinking at it from the technology aspect of it, having something that can read constantly in molten metal, essentially, from the galvanizing line or in the acidic bath that can survive essentially in that is fascinating to me. But then you switch it over from the carbon standpoint, and it's incredible to think about from an efficiency standpoint that you can operate your business in a more efficient manner because you can actually have in real time knowing what's actually happening on your production line. That hasn't happened in the manufacturing world for, I'll say specifically steel, until relatively recently.
Absolutely. Also for the steel makers, so for them it's very important. For example, we have here in Germany a company who's called Salzgitter Flachstahl. It's the city name Salzgitter. It's one of the biggest plants because it's 20 kilometers away from Volkswagen, and they produce all the metals for the automotive industry. So that's why this is located near to each other. And it's one of the biggest steel mills in Germany. And they are on a good way from perspective of carbon emissions. So they're working together with companies who are producing hydrogen stacks to make the energy made from renewable resources. And funnily or interestingly, even for these hydrogen stacks, our company, since this is relatively new, but we are now having analyzer measuring the alkaline, which is running through the electrolyzer. So nowadays, I also have discussions with steel companies, not only about classy steel making, also about their energy plants, because there is some alkaline electrolysis, so-called AEL or AEM, and those are operating with normally potassium hydroxide solution. And then it's very interesting that we have solution not only for pickling, also for nearly each other kind of process liquid where you want to know the concentration of the acid, the lye, or some other products which are running through the pipes.
That's fascinating and still blown away that this technology exists. From your perspective, when you're traveling around the world and you're putting in your products into the latest customers, I have to imagine the operators that you're training up on this have to have a pretty positive response.
Yeah, absolutely. So most of them are very happy because there is no other option in the moment. I mean, we have a very good analyzer which is maintenance free, and also the sensor design withstand for a very long lifespan. So even in pickling lines, our sensor is normally 10, 12 years running without any calibration or maintenance, which has something to do with the measuring principle. So there are a lot of different analyzer technology, and our ones is based on ultrasound. So similar like when you go to your doctors, yeah. So such a device, this is very long lifespan. So the measuring principle, it has some ultrasonic waves who are transmitted through the pickling acid or the rolling oil, and there is nothing who can break within the analyzer. So normally this is running 12 years. And interestingly, I met some operator for mm, some projects when they told me, okay, I don't know where your analyzer is installed. I know we have it and I get the signal and I know that it is installed in the pickling line, but where exactly we have at first to search for it because our plant is so huge. We have multiple floors and a lot of pipes, and we never maintain your analyzer because even during shutdown or startup, even then the analyzer is installed and it's a plastic coated one. So nothing can break the analyzer. So for them, it's part of their plant now.
The maintenance crew have to be just blown away by this because for running a steel mill, there's constant maintenance, there's the shutdown schedule, and there's obviously that checklist. And so for them to know that that's there and that it never shows up for their checklist has to just be ridiculous to them. Like, why is it never on their checklist? They know it's there. Why is it never showing up for them? In 12 years, why is
Yeah.
it never there?
So yeah, of course, they in the moment, even now, there are a lot of steel mills who are taking samples and sending to the laboratory. And I think this is also a topic for the future. If we want to reduce carbon emissions, if we want to start digitalization, and also to make the plant more safe for the operator, yeah, because this is handling with very toxic and harmful acids, or even the zinc and galvanizing plants. There are a lot of chemicals in which we don't want to touch or breathe, of course, yeah. So we need to protect the operator and make their life more easy. Why this is so important? Of course, such an analyzer has a special cost, but on the other side, you have a very easy return of the investment, because if you have, for example, one coil which is going for scrap, this is more cost than one analyzer, and also in the end it could protect a lot of, in German language we say we have a lot of gray hairs, which means that you have a lot of headache here. So that makes the life more easier also for the management of the plant.
So speaking of the German phrase, I want to you, by the way, for speaking in English to this American who has forgotten a lot of her French, by the way, over the years. So very much thank you for the not using your first language in this interview. It's very much appreciated. And your English is fantastic, by the way. Appreciate
Okay,
it
thank you.
greatly. Before we head out, I want to make sure that we hit everything that you wanted to cover today. Is there anything that we did not cover, any topics or areas that you wanted to mention before we head out?
No, I think we spoke about everything. All was fine. It was a good talk. I forgot within the discussion that we had it's an official podcast.
Well, that's hopefully the goal of this podcast. It's sometimes challenging to always convince really interesting people to hop on here. And I really want to thank you for willing to come on here. For those that do not know Alexandra, she is on LinkedIn. Highly recommend giving her a follow on there. That's how we connected. SensoTech is also on LinkedIn. You can also find them on their website. That's a fantastic follow as well. We had a wonderful conversation that led into obviously this podcast. And so it's been really wonderful to get to talk to you again and learn even more about your background, how you got into this industry, even more about what you and SensoTech have to offer. It's fascinating, honestly. It'd be really cool to see it in person one day. So it's really cool to hear what you and your team are working on these days.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. I also hope that this podcast will empower some girls to study technology jobs or engineering or IT or similar science, to have them empowered to go to the steel industry, because it's a very good place to be. And if I have a son, but if I would have a daughter, I would recommend to study such things, because it's, especially for ladies, a good opportunity to, some are thinking about that it's a dirty or old-fashioned topic, but it isn't, especially for automation topics like our analyzer. It's a lot about IT and technology, and also about improving resources, like we discussed about net zero global emissions. So this is a very good place to be, and the people are very kind. So every steel mill operator or manager I met was a cosmopolitan, very nice and kind person. So I would, if I had a daughter, I would empower her to study this.
Well, I would second that as well. I do have a son and daughter, so I can't wait to show them this episode and let them listen in. You're going to be a great example for them. And it's going to be cool to show them the products that you have at SensoTech. For anyone that's listening, this has been an episode of Bets on the Future with Alexandra Graf. She is the head of application and training at SensoTech. Alexandra, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.